We're on like Broadway, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Kicking with the Rickens, redefining retirement. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, joined today by one half of the great duo that helps with this show, and that is Paul. All right, that is Gerry Ricken, licensed insurance professional. Gerry Ricken at Ricken Financial. Gerry, how are we doing today? I see you got the pullover on. You're suited up, ready for work. I love the color scheme. You're looking sharp, my brother.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. You know, spring has sprung.
Yes, it has.
And you know, I'm doing well, and I hope you're doing the same, Doug. So spring has sprung, and with spring each year comes the Lenten season,
yes,
where we prepare for Easter. In our Catholic faith and in many, a lot of Christianity, we're, waiting for the Savior to rise from the dead on Easter Sunday. And in order for us as Catholics to prepare for that, one of the things we do is we fast on Fridays and we abstain from meat and we eat fish. So hence we have fish fries.
Right. And so there's a special one that you've been involved with for a while, which reminds me I need to go to one. And this is one right near you that you, I guess, help serve at. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Our parish, Our Lady of the Pillar in Creve Coeur, right on Lindbergh Avenue, right by Chaminade High School. We can actually walk there from our neighborhood, from our house. So we walk up. Sheila and I are in the kitchen, as well as Stephen and Heidi. So the four of us work in the kitchen every Friday. And it's always interesting because it's gained a lot of popularity over the years. We've actually won the citywide fish fry competition on one of the local radio stations here 2 out of the last 3 years.
I love that.
And we just said, okay, we abstained from even going because the popularity has gotten such that we don't need any more free advertising, because the word of mouth has gotten out that Pillar is the best place to go for a fish fry. Just a shameless plug. But last week was the height of spring break. And we had a very light staff in the kitchen. In fact, Heidi and Stephen were out of town. A lot of people were out of town.
Yeah.
On the kitchen staff. So we expected about 750 meals to be served. And we set a record for spring break week. We were
That's
over
incredible.
1,000 meals. We were 1,005 meals with a short staff. So it was busy, but it was fun. And it's just a huge community building thing that we like to give back to our parish, because they've done a lot for us over the years. But it's a lot of fun to build community and just give back to the church. So
I love that. And so that's tell them one more time the name of the parish. It's every Friday during Lent.
Our Lady of the Pillar, every Friday during Lent, including Good Friday. We are one of the few parishes that actually serves meals on Good Friday. So please come by Our Lady of the Pillar. It's between Highway 40 and Ladue Road, right on Lindbergh Boulevard, right next to Chaminade High School.
We are recording this during the lunch hour, and you have got me all hungry now, Gerry. So I'm gonna.
Well, we can satisfy that if you wanted to come this Friday, Doug. Just jump in a car, head to St. Louis.
Simple.
We'll
okay.
Serve you. We'll serve you.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's so many more questions I want to ask about that, but there's more we got to get into here. And, of course, Ricken Financial, y'all can get in touch with them at rickenfinancial.com. You can dial up the office, 314-442-6476. I know y'all are prepping to get ready for the brand new office. We'll talk more about that once that gets online. But Gerry and Heidi and the team are helping protect and preserve the retirement you deserve. And today we got to talk IULs, which sounds like a surgical procedure or maybe some kind of illicit device, but actually it's a great device in the toolbox and helping with your finances there. So explain just very basically what it is. I know in our previous episodes, Gerry, we discussed IULs amongst the many different parts of tax diversification, but help me and help the listeners out on a refresher.
A lot of people ask us about these. We've heard a lot about IUL, and they see it on Facebook. They see it on Instagram. They hear it on TikToks. They see this a lot, and they don't know really what that means. And IUL simply stands for Index Universal Life Insurance. So it's a life insurance policy that can be used in different structures and in different ways to serve different needs. So what we do is we look at IUL as another form of safe money. Because when you look at diversification of your money, you have things that you want to have at risk, then you want to have things that are safe. So a lot of people think that bonds are very safe. Bonds can be safer than equities, but there used to be an inverse relationship between equities and bonds. When bonds went up, equities went down. When bonds went down, equities went up. Well, in 2008, they both hit the floor when we had the market correction. So we want to make sure that when we look at safe money, we look at actual safe money. And we love using IULs because not only are they safe, but they also have a tax benefit.
Okay.
And as you know, Doug, we look at everything from tax as a tax planning forward. We always plan for taxes. We always plan to see how can we prevent taxes from increasing in the future, especially in your retirement years, because that's when you need money the most, especially for things like long-term care, or you're doing something can happen where you need a lot of money and you don't want to be having to pay tax on that. In order to get the net amount, you have to pay tax on it. So we try to put different buckets out there. And one of the things that we can do is use an IUL, or Index Universal Life Insurance Policy. The Index Universal Life Insurance Policy is a relatively new policy in the industry. They didn't exist until several years ago when companies said, okay, we have whole life, and I'm sure people have heard all about life insurance. There's permanent life insurance, there's term life insurance. The term life insurance, you buy it for a period of years, then it expires. So in order to get the benefit, you have to pass away in that term. Well, we don't want you to do that. But it's a way of protecting yourself and to protecting your family. And then there's permanent life insurance. And it used to be that you could get permanent life insurance in the way of whole life, which was a fixed fee that you received, a fixed interest rate that you received for the life of the policy. Then there was variable life insurance, which was invested in the market. So as market fluctuations occurred, that could occur within your portfolio that supported your life insurance policy. Index Universal Life kind of blends the two together and says, okay, we want the safety of whole life, but we want growth as well. And you can get growth in variable life. But there wasn't a safety unit in that. So they created something called Indexed Universal Life, which means you are tied to the financial markets, but not invested in them. So for instance, you could tie your performance inside your policy to the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 is a well-known index out there. We hear it on the news every day. You can easily look it up. But the S&P 500, as it goes up, you get a portion of the upside. But as it goes down, you receive zero losses.
Right. So the principal is always protected, basically?
Principal is always protected, and it's an annual calculation. So each year, based upon the S&P, a very simplistic way of looking at this, you tie it to the S&P 500. It is X on day one, and on 365, day 365, you compare the difference. If it goes up at least, let's say 10%, and your IUL may have a limit of 12.5%, it may have a limit of 11%, it may have a limit of 10.5%. If it goes up at least that amount of percentage, you receive that amount credited to your account value inside your life insurance policy.
Wow.
Then it gets added to your previous cash value, and the calculation starts all over again. So you lock in any gains on an annual basis, and you start all over again. You say, okay, what's going to happen this year? Then, let's say in year two, the S&P 500 goes down 20%. You lose zero.
Wow.
So you lose zero. So zero is your hero in these plans. And why would you use this? Well, you would use it as a piece of your portfolio because any growth is tax deferred. And when you pull the money out, unlike pulling the money out of an IRA, you borrow it from yourself. And loans are not taxable. So you use the money without taxation. It grows tax deferred inside this plan. You can pull the money out without any taxation so that if you needed to buy a new car, you can be your own bank. If you needed a down payment on a home, you can do that. If you needed to pay off some debts, you can do that without taxation, without having tax on this money.
Now, how do you pay yourself back if you borrow from yourself?
Well, the interesting thing is, in these plans, you don't have to pay yourself back because the loans that accumulate inside this policy will be paid back. There are two death benefits in this policy. With any life insurance policy, you have to have death benefit for it to qualify under Section 7702 of the Internal Revenue Code as life insurance. And we want it to always qualify as life insurance.
Yeah.
So that we get the tax benefits of life insurance. We have two death benefits. One of them is a gross death benefit, and the other one is a net death benefit. In the event you passed away and you had some of this debt out there, the debt would be first paid by the gross death benefit and end up with your net death benefit. Okay? So that's the way it works. So you can pass away with debt in your policy, and it just gets repaid by the gross death benefit in the policy, and the net death benefit goes to your beneficiaries.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense there. Would it be possible for someone, if they wanted their beneficiaries to get the full amount back later, would it be possible to pay themselves back early?
Yes, in fact, we do have people that want to repay that. Okay, they want to repay those debts, so they just put a little piece, each month out of their checking account. It just goes straight into repaying that debt and restoring that debt, and we have people to do that. So these are very flexible plans. You don't have to, but you can repay them.
Gotcha.
And when we think about life insurance, you have to qualify. Your health, it's a qualification with your health in life insurance. And we have people that have IULs on the books for different various reasons. We have people in their 20s who started plans, in their 30s, 40s with a couple kids, 50s, and people start it for, college funding. They do all those sorts of things. And we just recently had a woman in her 70s who is putting a plan into place. So it works very well when it works. In each plan that we have, each plan in each person is like a fingerprint. They're unique.
Right.
The circumstances are unique. And when they work very, very well. And when they don't work, we don't use them.
Right. And that's the thing. It's just like when we talk about annuities or, Roth IRAs or whatever it is, in any case, it has to be tailored to the person.
Everything that we do is specific to meet your needs. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, please call us at 314-442-6476 or hit us up on our website, rickenfinancial.com, RICKEN financial.com. There are lots of places where you can just key in your information. It'll send us an email. We'll reach out to you and we'll get that appointment scheduled.
All of that is on rickenfinancial.com. Contact buttons on the right. Phone number 314-442-6476 is on the top left. And right in the right center of the page, you can hit the podcast button, find all of our past shows or links to how to get those on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, some of the other podcasters. And that includes, Gerry, your YouTube page. I mean, a lot of people are just doing everything on YouTube. It doesn't have our gnarly mugs on there. Heidi's beautiful. Doesn't have our gnarly mugs, but it's a way to listen to the show if that's your preferred vessel of doing that.
Oh, absolutely. We try to make it accessible to everyone. And I would encourage you to go back and review the previous shows because we take a deep dive into a lot of different concepts and a lot of different tax saving strategies for you. And we want you to learn because that's what this is all about, is educating people to see what's available because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And there's a lot out there that can help you. But if you don't know about it, you're not going to be able to use it.
No, for sure. So start that conversation. Go to rickenfinancial.com. Look up the past shows. If you see something suit your fancy, maybe you want to talk to Heidi and Gerry and the team, hey, give them a call, 314-442-6476, or hit that contact button again at rickenfinancial.com. They also have Facebook and Instagram, really good content on those. And then coming up at the end of the month, at the end of April here, 29th and 30th, I know you're still firming up the details, but there will be a seminar, correct? And
yes,
people could call in and learn about that.
Absolutely. And that'll be posted on our website as well. So we want you to just go out and just explore and look. And just like Doug said, look at everything that we have out there because we're very, very accessible and it will not cost you a nickel to meet with us. It'll just cost you some time and you'll get to spend some time with me and more importantly with Heidi.
Complimentary look, complimentary meeting to help protect and preserve the retirement you deserve. That's what you've got. Heidi Ricken Provost is not on with us today, and you too, Gerry Ricken. You both do such a good job of helping people with that. So thanks for walking us through IULs today and soothing me that it wasn't a birth control method or an explosive weapon or a drug or anything like that. Index Universal Life Insurance there. You've showed so many tips about life insurance, Gerry. All I think of in life insurance is a commercial with someone like Alex Trebek or whatever talking about a product and
or
you actually make it sound really.
Exactly.
There you go. But actually, you show all these different things. In fact, even new products. I don't even think new when I think life insurance. So thank you for enlightening us to all of this, sir.
Oh, absolutely. And if you have old policies sitting on the shelf, Doug, that you don't necessarily need death benefit for, as your life changes, your life insurance needs change. And your life insurance needs may be focused more on end of life than beginning of life. While you're raising a family and you have mortgages and all these kinds of things, it may behoove you to take a look at those and see if you can exchange those in a tax-free exchange for something else that could benefit you in the future, like long-term care planning.
There you go. Exchanging. Hey, with the baseball season right here on our doorsteps, we're already talking about trade. Oh, wait. Well, that's a whole different thing. But yes.
Yeah, different thing. This is a tax-free exchange.
Bingo. There you go. On that note, Gerry, thank you so much. He is licensed insurance professional Gerry Ricken at Ricken Financial. Again, get in touch with the team. Gerry, Heidi, and the crew, 314-442-6476. And we cannot leave without reminding folks, Gerry, that every day
is a holiday
and life is short.
Laugh hard.
I'm Doug Turnbull. Thank you so much for listening to Kicking with the Rickens, Redefining Retirement, and thanks to our producer, Brandon Benefield, for putting this all together. We'll have another episode coming your way shortly. God bless. Enjoy that fried fish. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Gerald Ricken, Missouri Insurance License, NPN number 924708. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Ricken Financial LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Ricken Financial LLC is licensed in your state, please call 314-442-6476.